Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Prime Time. I'm Kathy Baker, and it's my true pleasure to welcome you today. We've got a great guest in Dave McGee. We're going to do what we normally do. I'm going to fumble around and try to start music. It may happen, it may not. But in any way, we're going to give you 3 minutes to get settled, to get a sip of something in front of you, and get ready to roll because today we are at halftime. So get your Gatorade, get your go-go juice, whatever it is, because we've got important things to talk about to make sure that we finish strong. So I'm going to try to start music. We'll see how that works. Maybe, maybe not. Woohoo! Come on and get in the chat line and let us know, Dave and I know where you're coming from. Mark Ledbetter. Dave, Mark is our good friend down in Fort Myers, Florida. Woohoo! Freedom. Anderson, South Carolina. Look at that East Coast. Savannah, Georgia. Janet Howard. Girl, you had a great vacation. I joined you in your pictures. Thank you for sharing. Dave, what you think of this?
I think everybody on the East Coast is looking for a way to get out of the heat and,
Here comes our Arizona family. Here, Melissa. These are our desert people. By the way, Dave and I are experiencing heat with humidity, not the dry heat that you people roll around in. So it's pretty bad here. Lake Havasu, one of the prettiest places I've seen with their very own London Bridge. Let us know who is having a watch party and what you're eating. It's 1 o'clock. I kind of would like to know.
I grew up in Sacramento and Oroville, which is not too far from Placer County. That's awesome.
Yeah.
California. Yep.
That later we'll have to chat. I want to know how you ended up in New York.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Esteem is having tacos today. We're gonna do this one day live from Kansas City just because I want to, or Chattanooga, Bluffton, South Carolina. Beautiful Hilton Head. Okay, it's 3 minutes after. Welcome. And as you see, I was chatting and not doing music because I was so fascinated by the many friends that have joined us. It is my pleasure to welcome to our show today, Dave McGee. Dave, I want you to tell us a little bit about you, who you're associated with, where you are, and just what we need to know about you, because our goal today is to have a great halftime show and finish the year strong.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I'm Dave McGee. I'm with Buffini and Company, and I'll talk. I think most people know a little bit about Buffini and Company, but as we get into the presentation, I'll tell you a little bit more about us and why the information that we're going to share today, I think, will be valuable to you. But I've been with Buffini and Company 18 years, all of that time as a coach. I have a master coach designation right now. I at one point led the coaching department. I've been involved in some of the direction of the company. But what I love to do is coach people. And like I said, we have some good information, Kathy, to share on how you can become unstoppable in the second half of the year. But I'm a coach by trade. So I would love if you have questions that we can get into that. I'm going to allot some time at the end to do it. But I'm much more of a coach than I'm a presenter. So Kathy, if some questions come in and you want to jump in and ask the questions, we can play it that way, however you want.
I have to tell you, we're a little bit of a disruptive group. So if you don't mind, I'm going to leave that. And Sierra's on with us. She's part of the Buffini and Company. And Sierra, you're off camera. But if you don't mind, I'm going to leave you on because I'm in the midst of a pretty significant thunderstorm. And if power goes out, I'm going to let you guys talk. I don't think it will. I have confidence I will get through this. So, Dave, you ready to get started?
Let's do it. Now, this is the part where I show my age. I'm Gen Xer. We're going to talk today about halftime. It is halftime. It's halftime for the year. And a lot of things have happened in the first half. You might be ahead of schedule. You might be behind schedule. You might be right on schedule. And we tend to make decisions based on where we are versus where we want to go, especially at halftime. And so we can be encouraged or discouraged right now. But what I'm going to share with you is how can you become unstoppable in the second half of the year so that you not only finish strong, but you win the year. And I want to start with a question. And the question is this: what is the biggest threat to your business right now? What's the biggest threat to your business right now? Give some thought to that. Is it the economy? Is it interest rates? Is it inflation? Is it our political climate? What's the biggest threat to your business right now? Love it, Nikki. I love the transparency, love the vulnerability, because here's what I think the biggest threat to everybody's business right now, and that is waiting. Right now, I see most agents are stuck in a dangerous pattern of waiting for the market to change, waiting for interest rates, waiting for the political environment to kind of get stable, and maybe waiting for the fear to subside. But when they do that, while we're waiting, the business slowly erodes. And so in talking to agents all over North America, one of the things that I'm seeing right now is that agents are experiencing frustration. They're experiencing apathy. They're experiencing burnout, missed opportunities, and a loss of income and stability. So if that resonates with you, you're not alone. But while that's happening, we look at Buffini & Company, and many, if not most of our clients had their best year ever last year and are in the midst of a great year again this year. People like Pam Ellers from Grand Island, Nebraska, who in her first year in real estate signed up with coaching at Buffini & Company, closed 23 transactions. First quarter of this year had 6 closed, 14 active buyers and sellers. Or Michelle Sparks from Georgia. She blew her goal, second year in real estate, blew her goal out of the water by 300%, earned $542,000 in her second year in Carrie Folletti. I love Carrie because she's been with Buffini & Company for more than 20 years. Great numbers. Anybody would want to have those numbers. But what I really love about what Carrie did is she did those numbers and took 100 extra days off last year. So how can it be that most of the real estate community is struggling and some people are having their best year ever? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the systems at Buffini & Company and how we help our clients do it and how you can embrace some of that right now as we get into the second half of the year. But if you want to become unstoppable the rest of this year, if you want to finish strong, you really have to do 3 things right now. You need to review, you need to reset, and you need to refocus. You know, I'm living in New York City right now, so I'm going to say a word which is considered, it's 2 words actually, it's considered a swear phrase, and that is 3 words. The New England Patriots. So everybody knows that New Yorkers and New Englanders, they butt heads. 2017, you've all remembered, it was the Falcons and the Patriots, the Super Bowl, and the Patriots were being blown out at the end of the first half. What did they do? When they got in the locker room, they reviewed. They reviewed what worked and what wasn't working in the first half. They reset, and then they refocused. And they came out in the third quarter, and they didn't set the world on fire. In fact, Atlanta scored again and increased the lead. But because the Patriots had reviewed, reset, and refocused, they actually came back, took the game into overtime, and won. And so that's what I want you to focus on right now. Wherever you are, whether you're winning or whether you're losing, it doesn't matter. It's halftime, and we need to review, reset, and refocus. Now, if I'm sitting in your seat.
Can I interrupt you? Because
Absolutely.
I think I want to give people some grace and just to pause for a moment. And, you know, a lot of people, a business plan last fall, and they probably haven't looked at it since. And a statistic that I'm making up is that, you know, the moonshot, the first moonshot, I think they were on course, Dave, about 10% of the time. So 90% of that voyage, if you would, that journey was course correcting. And
Yes.
give yourself grace. It's okay, regardless of where you are in your journey at this point, you got to course correct. And it's not you, it's the market. I talked to somebody this morning that was talking about inventory and, you know, how they're at the highest they've been. And buyers, what we're hearing in the chat line, buyers are just hesitant and they're taking their foot off the gas. So give yourself grace. And if you haven't done a business plan, look at it. If you've done it, tear it up and do another one. It's okay to do that. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Well, I love something you said last week, Kathy, when we were getting ready for this. And you said that a business plan is a compass, not a spin. And that hit the nail right on the head. You have to have a plan. The Patriots had a plan. Their plan did not include for them to be down 28-3 at halftime. And so they reset the plan. And even when they got their plan in the second half, it didn't lay out exactly as planned. The plan becomes the compass. It's not the speedometer, right? I love it. That's great. Now, I'm going to share some information with you that's going to help you reset, refocus, and review. But if I'm sitting in your seat, I'm thinking, why should I listen to you? Everybody has something to sell. And I'm not going to sell you anything today. We're going to make an offer. We have an offer, the Certified Full Service Professional Program. We're going to show you how you can take advantage of that with a great discount from Realty One. But I'm going to give you some very practical tips, get results here in the second half. But if I'm sitting in your seat, I'm wondering why you should listen to me. So let me tell you a little bit about Buffini & Company for those of you who don't know. Buffini & Company this is a picture of Buffini & Company, one of our 4 buildings on our campus, some of our staff. And so you can see we're not making this up in a garage somewhere. In fact, we're the #1 business coaching and training company in North America. We've been at this 29 years. We've seen every market and every type of market. One of the things that's happening right now is homes are staying on the market longer and people are freaking out. Sellers are freaking out. Agents are freaking out. And it's like 45 days, 60 days. Well, that's not normal. It's been normal for the last 5 or 6 years, but it's not normal. We've seen what happens in good markets and bad markets over the last 29 years. We've coached and trained over 4 million people. So we've seen what individuals bring to the game. And we've conducted over 2 million coaching calls. That's over 1 million coaching hours. Why is that important? The average coach at Buffini & Company has more than 16,000 coaching hours under their belt. You've heard it said that mastery is 10,000 hours. Well, I get to associate with a team of masters at what they do. Now, when you think of a coach, what do you think of? Some of you, when you think of a coach, you think of someone like this, somebody who's going to push you, somebody who's going to drive you, somebody who's going to challenge you. Some of you, when you think of a coach, you think of this, somebody who's going to put their arm around you, support you, care for you. Some of you, when you think of a coach, you think of this. And I like to say that our coaches will help you buy a lot of these coaches. Now, when I think of a coach, I think of this. This is a sampling of the coaches on staff at Buffini & Company. 65 full-time certified business coaches, professionals at what they do, masters at what they do. And I think that's important. They're full-time certified coaches. Don't know about you, but I don't want my coach to be selling real estate half-time and coaching half-time. I want my coach to be a full-time coach. I don't want my accountant to be a half-time accountant. I don't want my attorney to be a half-time attorney. I don't want my coach to be a half-time coach. The coaches at Buffini & Company are masters at what they do, and it shows. Our clients earn 9 times the industry average last year. Now, I'm sharing this with you not to brag, although I'm proud of it. I'm sharing this with you because what I want you to know is we didn't make up what I'm going to share with you in a garage somewhere. This is based on what's worked for the past 29 years in every type of market in North America and in every market in North America. It'll work for you. So let's talk about it. How do you become unstoppable in the second half? Well, it starts with a review, and we're going to start our review with a review of the market. Now, real estate's an interesting bird because the truth of real estate is everything's local. So I'm going to talk about the market nationally. It may not be what you're experiencing in your local market. It may be, but we need to get a sense of what's happening in the market in our review so that we can have a good plan for the second half of the year. Right now, business is tougher. Business is tougher. It's been tough for the last few years. We don't want to put our head in the sand and think that everything's okay. The truth is business is tough. Here's a graph of what's happened to the market over the last few years. 2020, 5.6 million homes sold. That's a good number. 5 million homes sold is a good number in real estate. In fact, that's a pretty stable number of homes sold. It keeps people focused. It's not too fast, not too slow. We went from 5.6 to 6.1 million, 20 to 21. Well, remember what happened there? That was COVID. And interest rates came down to help stimulate the economy. So everybody wanted to buy a home. 2% interest. Who doesn't want to buy a home? People were buying homes they didn't want to buy. They didn't even like them. Now they're stuck in them and they can't get out of them because they don't want to go to a 6 or 7% interest rate. That caught up to us. That market caught up to us. And from 2021 to 2022, went down to 5.1 million homes sold. Now, again, that's a great number. But it doesn't feel great when you went from 6.1 million. That's a 20% reduction in production. And then the trend continued, 4.1 million, another 20%. So over a 2-year period, 40% reduction in the number of homes sold, which, by the way, in 2023, that was the fewest amount of homes sold in 30 years in the United States.
A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize we had fewer transactions than in 30 years.
Yeah.
Fewer than in 2007, 2008.
That's right.
So I don't want to get ahead of you, but as you look at national stats and you talk about reviewing, how important is it for our listeners to understand their local market?
They're very, very important. And I'm glad I'm not going to talk about that specifically, but it is one of the things we work with our clients on. There are 10 stats that we want our clients to know. Not only we want them to know the national number, we want them to know the market number, the local number for them. And then we want them to be able to articulate their individual numbers in those stats, because communicating that to the consumer is important.
Okay, for those of you that have a pen and paper in your hand, what would be the 2 or 3 things? I'm sure days on the market. Yep. I'm sure it needs to be like 0 to 200,000, 200 to 400. You can tell I'm talking North Carolina when I start 0 to 200,000, right? But what if they were to walk away right now, Dave, and say, okay, these are the things I need to be able to say, because I don't think when someone says, how's the market? I don't think it's great or it sucks. I don't think either one of those is an appropriate answer.
No, I think so. Average sales price for sure. And I would want average sales price last year. So a year ago this time, 90 days ago this time, and right now. So people can see the trend. The trend is more important than the actual number right now. What's the trend? So average sales price, days on market, definitely. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Days on market. I'd want to know that. And what people are going to see is days on market increasing. Now, one thing I would do is I wouldn't just show last year's 90 days and right now days on market. People will see that's increasing. You got to give them a little perspective. Maybe go out 5 or 6 years ago and show days on market so that people can see what a more normal market is than what we're experiencing right now. And a lot of agents need to remind themselves of that too.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pause right there and just to our affiliates, our broker owners and managers that are listening, take a note of that because I think our tribe may need a little bit of help with that. And these are stats that are going to increase your market. I love that. So you're looking at a 60-month perspective. Yep. By the way, all of you that know me know I don't do math well. So for me to know that 5 times 12, 60, right? Is that close? Yes. Okay, that's good. Right. Yay. So get a 60-month perspective. Let's see. Letitia says average price per home, days on the market.
Yep. Average sales price, days on market. I'd also want to know average list to sales price ratio. So what did the home come on the market for? What did it sell? Here's the beauty. That's a year ago. That's 90 days. It's right now. And it's yours. What you're going to find out is yours will tend to be better than the average. If it's not, don't share it. But most of the time you'll look at it and go, hey, my average list to sales price ratio is better than the average. So you want to talk to people about that. My days on market is better than the average. So I want to talk to people on that. So those would be the 4 keys. Interest rates, obviously, I'd throw in there so people have a sense of what's happening in the market as well.
You know, I want to just be really careful in saying this and not so careful, but the fear that you're feeling sitting in the chair that you're in, those that are listening to us, a lot of that is being fed by media. A lot of that is being fed, and I mean, on a global level, on a national level, and a professional level for real estate, guys, those folks have to sell advertising and they're going to sell it on fear more than they are comfort. So your job is to be the navigation. For the past 15 years, National Association of Realtors has reported to us that the number one characteristic that people want in a professional realtor is character, integrity. And to me, character integrity is enhanced through transparency and knowledge. And it is your job to convey what is true, what is real, and deliver it in a way that brings comfort.
Love it.
And it's not going to come from any of the outlets that we subscribe to, any of the ones that are pounding our email every day as realtors. So just be careful, number one, what you listen to, and that what you're repeating is what Dave is saying. It's local, it's your numbers, you can perfume the pig.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But not at a point of being deceptive.
Yeah, you don't want to be deceptive. So, but what I would probably do, like I would show the market as a whole. And then the areas of my numbers better, I want to show that. How do I compare it to the nation? How do I compare it to the market? Where it's not better, I'm not going to say that I'm better. I'm just not going to show that. Good. So it's clear business is tougher right now. The other thing is, even though home sales are down, there's more competition. And it's a byproduct of home sales being down. In 2021, when everybody was looking to buy a home, every agent had buyers to work with. Right now, buyers are hesitant, sellers are hesitant. And so it means all these agents with not enough people fewer deals, more agents fighting over fewer deals. And that's causing some trouble for the market. So here's a stat that's going to shock you. For a while, we did not share this stat because we could not confirm it, even though it was reported by a reputable source. We have since confirmed it. Over the last 12 months, so not 12, I'm sorry, in 2024, 71% of all active agents did not sell a home in 2024. Now, over the last rolling 12 months, 47% of all agents sold 0 homes. Now, you say, Dave, that's better. No, it isn't, because it's all agents versus active agents. And so you've got a lot of inactive agents doing 1 or 2 deals here and there that are taking deals away from active agents. So 47% of all agents in the rolling 12-month period have not sold a home. And it's creating fear in the marketplace for the agent. Right now, the National Association of Realtors says only 73% of realtors were certain that they'd be in business over the next 2 years. What does that mean? Nearly a quarter of all agents are wondering whether they're going to be in business in the next 2 years.
You know what I love about that? And I'm so disruptive, I apologize.
I love it.
Jillian had put in the comments that one of her biggest concerns or fears was other realtors. Don't be. No, it sounds to me like 3/4 of them are all hat, no cattle. You need to get out there I've got to tell you, regardless, because I've been asking y'all questions and y'all been ignoring me, but that's okay. I just wonder, here's the thing about real estate. You need to be the navigator and you need to be transparent and have high integrity. The other thing you need is knowledge. Wisdom is what you gain over time. Knowledge is what you gain through certification. Knowledge is what you gain through education. Knowledge is what you gain through looking at MLS and knowing your local stats. The way to elevate and be in the 1/4 that is doing business and serving the real estate community is to elevate your game. We're at halftime. You got to play us better second half than first half. I hope 3/4 of those people don't renew their license. I don't mean to be ugly, but I want a more professional environment than what we have. I want to play major league, not minor.
That's the key. And I think Jillian is smart to be concerned about other agents because of the next point. Right now, consumers are more selective than ever. And to your point, Kathy, it's not just agents who are waiting right now. Consumers are waiting. They're waiting to see what happens with interest rates. They're waiting to see what happens with the economy. They're waiting to see what happens politically. And that doesn't mean they don't want to buy or sell a home. They do. We've identified 10 reasons that people want to buy or sell a home. They want to buy and sell. They're nervous. They're waiting. What they crave is leadership. And what they crave is professionalism. And right now, we don't have that in our marketplace. In fact, July of 2024, nearly 60,000 home purchase agreements were canceled in that month alone, nationally. That's the highest percentage of any July on record. What that means is you had a willing buyer, a willing seller, 2 agents who wanted the deal to go through. There was a contract, and then it fell out of contract. That's nothing more than a lack of professionalism on the part of the agents. They couldn't lead the clients. Now, that's nearly 20% of every deal. So 1 out of every 5 deals that got into contract in July of 2024 fell apart. You think that's probably getting a little bit better. And it is. In April, 56,000 contracts fell out. So a little bit better, but not much. And what it shows is there's too many unprofessional agents unable to take the lead. And what we want to help you do is be the professional that the agents crave so that you can get the business and help the buyers and sellers do what they want to do. Now, we've talked a little, Kathy, it looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I was going to say it's fascinating that you say that, because in the chat line, if you will give us a yes, if you've had deals that have gone under contract and you feel like you sold the same listing within the listing period more than once, because I've probably heard that more frequently, Dave, than I have in many, many years. And, the truth of the matter is, if you're in that 1/4 that's doing business, you're probably doing both sides, right? And getting paid for one. When buyer agency brings, I don't even want to go down that slippery slope. But, I just want to highlight some comments. Melissa Swartz, who is one of our managers in the desert, she says 2019 was the last normal year if you're trying to compare past markets. Jim has a great comment. He said all of the info is relative to past years, and if you just spit out a number like we have 26,000 active listings, nobody knows what that means, right? So you have to make it relatable, because most people have no clue. So thank you, Jim. That's an incredibly good point. Jen's asking a question. I want to ask you this, and you may not know, and you can make it up if you want to. How many of the agents who are active sold over 10?
I don't know that stat, and I would just be making find it, but I don't know it off the top of my head. Yeah, there is a divide between haves and have-nots right now. And when I'm talking about the unprofessionalism in real estate, I'm not necessarily saying that any individual listening to this is unprofessional. What I want you to do is ask yourself, are you as professional as you need to be? And if you are, the challenge is that you're working with agents on the other side of the transaction who aren't. So to your point, Kathy, I have to be professional for both sides of the transaction. And that's why professionalism is such a big deal right now. And that's why consumers are looking for agents that they can say that person's a professional versus an amateur. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But there's an old joke that somebody gets pulled over by a highway patrol person. And the highway patrol person asked the person, I see your real estate license. And they said, well, don't you mean my driver's license? And the highway patrol person says, no, not everybody has one of those. And so there are a lot of people practicing real estate who are not professional. And that means you have to be even more professional because of it. So that's the market. What I'd love for you to do right now is to take just a brief review of where you are in your business right now. Are you struggling? Are you just hoping that the second half of this year is going to be a good year? Are you making progress, but you feel like you're playing a little bit of defense, or you're defensive when you're talking to your clients, or are you in complete command? So just, if you want to write this out and mark the quadrant you're in, or just in your mind, mark your quadrant. Are you just hoping that the second half is going to be a good year? Are you making some progress, but you feel like you're playing defense, or you're a bit defensive? Are you making progress, but everything is a struggle? Or are you in complete command? It doesn't matter where you put it now, because we want to move everybody toward the in command quadrant. But there's something in it will tell you. All right, let's get back here and see if we can get this to work right. There we go. If the vertical axis is commitment, the horizontal axis is plan. So if you're just hoping that the second half of the year is good, it means you don't really have a good plan, and you may be lacking a little bit of commitment. If you're making some progress, but you feel you're playing defense, your plan's probably good. You might need to up your commitment level a little bit. If you're making progress, but everything's a struggle right now, your commitment level is great, but you might need to relook at your plan. And then you're in command when your commitment level and your plan are working in lockstep. So that's just going to give you a little sense of where you are. That's the part of review. We want to know where we are right now. And you're going to hear me say this several times. Direction is more important than position. So wherever you are, if you're in command, don't get lazy right now, because direction is more important than position. If you're just hoping, don't feel embarrassed, because direction is more important than position. So once we've refocused, we need to reset. We know where we are right now. That's just our starting point. Direction is more important than position. So we need to reset our focus. And I just want to take everybody back. You know, we always talk about vision and we look to the future. I want to take everybody back to the vision for a minute. You got into business for yourself for a reason. You had a vision, you had a dream. And then what happens is we get in the middle of this and we forget the vision and the dream. So as you start to reset, re-engage with your vision and your dream, what got you in business in the first place? And for most of us, it's because we want to make a little more money, we want to have a greater impact, and we want to have more freedom. All noble causes. What gets in the way of that? What gets in the way of us having more money, making an impact, having more freedom so that we can fulfill our vision? Well, it's really three things. One, it's a lack of leads. Two, it's a lack of sales. And three, it's a lack of time. So what is your biggest challenge right now? Just real quickly assess where you are on this, because there's a solution to each of these. If you have a lack of leads, your focus, when we get to refocus, should be on generating leads every single week. Now, if you're a team leader or a broker, take weekly and put daily there. Generate leads every single week. If you've got enough leads coming in, but just not enough sales, we need to focus on closing sales every single month. Team leads and brokers, replace month with week. And then I got leads and I got sales, but I just don't feel like I have to make that impact, and I don't have the freedom I want. It's because you don't have the time. You need to have more effective systems. At Buffini and Company, we have systems and tactics and strategies in place for all of these, where we're going to focus the rest of our time, because time is limited, is on the generate leads weekly side, because I see that as the biggest challenge for most agents right now. And there are three components that we work with our agents on. Number one, grow your database. Number two, lead the market. And number three, generate demand. We're not going to get into the whole system. If you want to get into the whole system, talk to somebody at Buffini and Company. They can help you in any of those areas. But the area that we've talked about so far, and I think is going to be the biggest need in the second half of this year, and that is lead your market. So what do I mean by that? Well, it means two things. One, you want to be the market leader. And two, you want to lead the clients and prospects that are doing business with you. That's your market. And that's probably the most important thing. So in the rest of our time together, that's what we're going to do. We're going to refocus, and we're going to use lead the market as our way to refocus. Now, again, if you had a different area that is your number one concern, then you want to refocus on that. If closing sales is your number one thing, and you say, hey, listen, I got a good pipeline and I've reduced friction for my clients, but I don't really understand their core motivation, then in the next 90 days, you want to really focus on understanding core motivation. But for most of us, what we really want to focus on in the next 90 days is how do we lead our market? And that's through professionalism. So
Can I roll back on one thing just a minute?
yes,
The measurability of all of those three categories is huge.
yes,
And what I mean by that is you need to know your conversion rate. You need to have a method to know where you're spinning your wheels and where you're effective. And I think a big challenge with a lot of people in the absence of systems, you spin
yes.
because you're not sure where you're investing time, money, passion, anything. The biggest challenge I hear with in our industry is I'm going to quote unquote make time.
Mm,
And one thing I tell people all the time is you don't have the ability to do that. You have the ability to manage your time, but our 24 hours has been gifted to us. You're not going to make any more than that. So when you go in with the mindset of, I'm going to make time to lead gen, or I'm going to make time to do this, or I'm going to make time to spend quality time with my family, you're not. You're
right.
failing out the gate. You've got to manage it. And all of this to me, everything around it comes back to how am I managing time and what is the measurability of what I have?
Yeah.
So,
And I would say, I take it, we even have time management down here as one of the systems. I would take it one step further though, Kathy, and say you can't even manage time. You
uh-huh.
use time. And it's how are you going to use your time? And it's being intentional about that 100%. And the beauty of looking at this map is you can say, what's my biggest challenge? And that's the area that I want to go to work on over the next 90 days. And to your point, then we have to have a way to measure the progress you're making in that. And that's why coaching is so valuable. Again, we're going to focus on leading the market, and that's going to be the subject of our refocus. And I want to tell the reason we're going to talk about professionalism is that's what the consumer is craving right now. And the consumer is ultimately willing to pay for professionalism. Now, they say they don't. Well, I don't, I'm going to do it myself. But the truth is, most consumers are willing to pay for professionalism. There was a man by the name of Red Adair. Red Adair was a firefighter on oil rigs. And so he was the best in the world at that. And the oil companies would fly him and his team out to fight the fire on these rigs. And he charged incredible amounts of money to do it. But he was the best in the world at doing it. And he said, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional to do the job, wait until you hire an amateur. And so you've got people craving professionalism, willing to pay for professionalism. That's why you got to focus over the next 90 days on upping your level of professionalism. Just to define it, professionalism is competence or skill in the practice of an activity. So how competent are you in any one of the activities that you want to do? Some probably extremely. Some probably have some room to improve. How skilled are you in any number of the activities you do? Some probably extremely. Some you have some area of opportunity to improve. Look for those areas to improve so that you can spend the next 90 days doing that. Now, in our CFSP program, we've identified what the difference between amateurs and professionals. So particularly in real estate, amateurs have a goal. Now, I know that sounds crazy because we work a lot of people who don't have goals just to get a goal. But amateurs have goals. They focus on the goal. Professionals focus on the process to achieve the goal. Amateurs think you have to be good at everything. Professionals understand that you've got to keep improving and you really need to focus on the most important things to be good at. Amateurs see coaching as somebody criticizing them. Professionals know that they have blind spots. They seek out thoughtful feedback. Amateurs give up at the first sign of trouble and they assume that they're failures. Professionals see failure as the part of the path to growth. So wherever you are right now, just part of your path to growth. Now, I think this is a big point. Amateurs tend to focus on the obstacle and they think they're blocked by the obstacle. What they're really blocked by is their focus on the obstacle. In fact, Henry Ford had a great quote, and Henry Ford said that obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. I think it's interesting that it's both eyes, one goal. Some of us have too many goals. So we might need to narrow our focus and make sure both of eyes are on that goal. And just to round out this list, amateurs show up inconsistently. Professionals show up every day. Amateurs think disagreements are threats. Professionals see disagreements as an opportunity to learn. Amateurs blame others and professionals accept responsibility. So some of you, everybody on this call, and myself included, one of those things resonates with you to go to work on. Some of us might have a few to go on, but pick one. Here's where we want to focus our time on becoming professional. We want to focus on motivation, mindset, and methodology. We want to know what to do, how to do it, and why we do it. Most people think I need more information. I need to know what to do. If you do, seek out a teacher or a mentor. Some people think I need to know how to do it. If you do, seek out a trainer. But most of us know what to do and how to do it, and we just don't do it because our motivation, our mindset, and our methodology are off. And so let me give you just a brief, show you how this plays into your success. Motivation is created by having a compelling vision and clear goals. So if you're unmotivated, look at your vision and your goals. What do you want your life to look like 3 to 5 years from now? And how will your business serve that? And what do you want to accomplish by the end of this year that moves you in that direction? That's your goal. The vision is where you want to be long-term. The goal is what moves you in that direction by the end of this year. Mindset are your beliefs. And your beliefs can be one of two things. There's some really smart people who've studied mindset, and they say there's growth mindset and a static mindset. I don't agree with that. Mindset is either limiting or empowering. And so if you have a belief, sometimes when we're working with people, I'm working by referral, I don't want to call somebody because they're going to think that I'm just sticking my hand in their pocket, that I want to take from them. And that's a legitimate mindset, a little legitimate perspective, but it's a limiting belief. And so we want to change it to an empowering belief. So a key when you have a thought is to ask yourself that you feel might be limiting. Ask yourself, is it true? Is it helpful? And is it kind? And if one of the three answers there is no, you need to look at reframing that. If all three are true, then it is what it is. And we'll look for another way to get around it. But is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Your thoughts. Is my thought true? Most of the time you're going to find out, nope, it's just a perspective. But sometimes you're going to, yeah, it is true. Is it helpful? No. Great. Let me find another truth that is helpful. Is it true and helpful? Yes. Is it kind? No. Great. Let me find another truth that's helpful that could be a little more kind to myself and help me move in that direction. And then methodology is how you do things. But it's not just doing things. It's doing things strategically and consistently. For example, do you have a system to communicate to your sellers every single week? Same day, same time, same conversation to keep them calm about what's happening in the market, because it used to be 14 days and now it's 62 days on market. Do you have a way that you handle all of your buyers when you bring them in and it's consistent and systemized every single time? That's a methodology that we're looking for. And when all three of those things align, mindset, motivation, and methodology, that's where you find achievement. Now, I want to go back to methodology for a minute. Like one of the things that we have as a resource in our certified full service professional program that we're going to give to you free today, whether you join our program or not, is the Home Buying 101.
Can we go back to that slide for 1 minute?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt this, but I want to level set everybody if I can. And I want comments about this comment. I want you all to pull up to about 32,000 feet. And I want you to answer this question. If I don't let the people that I know and care about be aware that I'm a professional dedicated to deliver an extraordinary experience surrounded by ease and elegance versus blood and guts, they are at a risk of 3 out of 4. If they don't contact me, the other 3 people potentially could be crappy realtors that haven't closed a thing in the past 12 months. That 71% is who you're jeopardizing their experience to. And you ask those questions, is that true? It's true, I think. Is it motivating? It's absolutely motivating. And the methodology is such that you provide for them an extraordinary experience on the biggest financial decision potentially of their lives versus letting them risk it to somebody who sucks.
Yeah, 100%. Fear of feeling like I'm taking something from somebody that I'm asking for a referral for or asking to visit. That's probably the number one fear that we work with as coaches.
Our fear should be that we're jeopardizing the people that we want to serve.
Yeah. So the mindset I would have is, am I talking to this person because I want to take their money? And the answer, that's probably not true. No, I want to get paid for the transaction. I want to make a good living, but I'm calling them because I want to serve them and provide value of that, right? Is it helpful? Is it helpful for me to be afraid of reaching out to somebody because I'm afraid of what they'll think about? It's not helpful, because exactly what you said, they might work with somebody who doesn't serve them. And is it kind? It's kind of neither party. And so, one of the things when I've coached some people that have that fear, I'll say, great, who's the worst agent you know that you wouldn't want your mother or father working with? And they'll give me a name, and I'll go get a picture of that person and stick it up in your workspace. And every time you have a fear of making a call to somebody, realize that person might use or refer that other agent to that person. And that should be reason enough to pick up the phone and make a call. Methodology is about consistency. And here's the thing about consistency. You want to systemize the process, but you want to personalize the experience. So you want to have a home buying process, a process that you take all of your buyers through. You want to have a home selling process, a process that you take all of your sellers to, and you'll personalize the nuance in that area. So if you want to find out if you have a great home buying process, download this resource. You can go to buffini.com/realty1 or click the QR code and you can download that resource for free. One other thing about mindset, motivation, and methodology. We talked about that when they all align, that's achievement. Well, when some of them don't align, it creates things and it can tell you what you need to work on right now. So if you're doubtful right now, it means you probably have good motivation and you have a good methodology, but your mindset is limiting. And so you might want to go to work on your mindset. If you are seeing slow progress right now, you probably have good motivation and good mindset. You might need to work on your methodology. And if you find that I'm just busy. I'm busy. I don't know how I'm going to find more time. You probably have a decent methodology. You probably have a good mindset. Your motivation isn't there. And so you're working on things that are not really moving the needle. That'll give you a little indication of where you need to work on so that you can get to achievement. Now, I want to talk a little bit. So we talked of all of these: mindset, motivation, and methodology. What does that have to do with professionalism? Well, a professional is well motivated. A professional has an empowered mindset, and a professional has a strategic and consistent methodology. In the full service professional program, Brian Buffini will talk to you about what it takes in the first full service professional, how to stay motivated and consistent. It's compelling vision and clear goals. John Acuff's going to walk you through how to maintain an empowered mindset. When you have the thoughts, what should you tell yourself? And Michael Thorne will show you how to use AI to improve your process strategically. So mindset, motivation, methodology. The second part of professionalism is communication. What are you communicating consistently with your clients? Are you communicating consistently at all? Are you on a regular schedule? If I were working with you one-on-one, I'd want to make sure that you're talking to your sellers every single week. Same day, same time, giving them an update. That will put them at ease. They won't call you 15 times a week during a transaction because they know on Friday at 2, you're going to give them a call and you're going to give them all the information they need to know about. And in that consistent conversation, then you can let them know what you're going to do for them the next week. And do we need to look at maybe reducing the price next week? So the consistency, if you're not having that consistent conversation, then you have to call for a price reduction, which we're starting to see more and more of. There's going to be a lot more friction. So are you communicating consistently? What are you communicating? Are you communicating how you are serving them different than everybody else in the market? What's your unique selling proposition? And how do you communicate tough things? Are you setting yourself apart from the competition, right? And so what you really want to focus on, and then in negotiation is all about communication. Are you confident in your negotiation or concerned in your negotiation? And when you have tough conversations, do you have a process for that? So in the certified full service professional, Ron Tite was a marketing expert that works with Google and large companies. He actually lays out a very simple plan to clarify your unique selling proposition, what sets you apart for the competition. He'll help you identify that. And then what you can do to communicate that to people in a way that doesn't feel salesy. Chris Voss, former FBI negotiator, he's going to show you, there are more tips in Chris Voss on negotiation than we can get into. And what I love about this module is I'm actually in it too. So if that's compelling for you, but here's the thing, the key to negotiation: 1, get curious, uncover the true motivation of all parties. Often what they say they want is not what they want. So get curious about their true motivation. Be direct. Most people are not direct enough in negotiations. You need to be direct. You need to be understanding. You need to be compassionate, but you need to be direct. And then you'll need to look for ways to get the other party to win in your negotiation. If it's all about you winning, it's going to ruin the negotiation. Where can you find a win for the other party that allows you to get the win that you're looking for? And then critical conversations, do you have a system for those conversations? And here's a good system that you can take into any crucial conversation that you need to have. First, to get very clear on what you want from this conversation. Second, as much as you can, try to understand what the other party wants from this communication. And thirdly, what do you want for the other party in this communication? And if you focus on those 3 things, tough conversations become a lot easier. So mindset, motivation, methodology, communication. The third part that you want to really refocus on in the next 90 days, if you want to be a professional, is your customer service. You need to have exceptional customer service, and it needs to be systemized. When you're thinking of customer service, you want to think about two things: hospitality and a wow experience. And so Chris Gadara, hospitality is, what do you do to create the unforgettable experience? Brian in his business, he used to provide daycare. So when they were going out to show homes to potential buyers, he had a full-time daycare provider on his staff that they would leave the kids with the daycare provider at the office, fully set up office with toys, playroom, so that the parents could be completely focused on the home buying process. That's an unforgettable experience. I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but what can you do to create an unforgettable experience? And the key is you want to systemize the delivery. Brian's delivery was he had that available to him. You want to personalize the experience. One way to think about this is you may have a process that you give every one of your clients a book. That's systemized. But if you give them all the same book, it's not personalized. So you give everybody a book, but you give each individual a book based on what they really need. Systemize the delivery, personalize the experience. And then a wow customer experience really comes down to consistent communication. And giving your most valuable asset, and that's your time and attention. And so everybody knows Buffini & Company as the calls, notes, and pop buy company. There's a reason notes and pop buys work so well. It takes time to write a personal note. It takes time to go pop by somebody face to face, and the recipient understands that. So the wow customer experience, consistent communication, give you of your most valuable asset, your time and attention, and then build a relationship for life. It's not about the transaction. You want to let the client know that you're with them 6 weeks after the transaction, 6 years after the transaction. Not only will that lead to a better transactional experience, it'll lead to more repeat and referral business. And again, we cover unreasonable hospitality with Will Gadara, who is one of the world's renowned restaurateurs. And Brian talks about the wow customer experience in the Certified Full Service Professional. It's halftime, and you can become unstoppable if you do these things: review, reset, refocus. Wherever you are right now, the game isn't over. If you're ahead, great. If you're behind, okay. Regardless of where you are right now, if you want to win this year, if you want to be unstoppable, you need to review where you are and why you're there. You need to reset your direction. Direction is more important than position. Where are you going to be headed in the second half? And you need to refocus on one area that you'll work on to ensure you'll win. I gave you some examples in the Certified Full Service Professional. Here's the whole program. There are 5 base modules. Brian starts out with the Full Service Professional. We get John Acuff talking about mindset and the soundtracks of real estate. Will Gadara talks about unreasonable hospitality. Ron Tite will help you build your marketing plan by creating your unique selling proposition. And then Brian wraps it up with the wow customer experience. We've got several bonus modules: negotiate like a pro, demystify AI, and have critical conversations. In addition to the videos, you get a marketing suite, a new buyer presentation that's designed specifically for what buyers are experiencing in today's market. Same with the seller presentation. You get buyer and seller dialogues. And this is the important part: you get a designation that says you're a certified full service professional. You have to complete the course and pass the test to get the designation, just like any other certification. But you get to communicate that to people in the marketplace. And we had a client, Colette Myers, who says, I used the listing presentation from CFSP and beat out 2 other realtors. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, yeah, but look at that picture. Well, she goes on to talk about the picture. Right? She says, unfortunately, I didn't take a pic of the house while I was there, so the Google one doesn't show it at its best. It's exciting, though, when a new client signs during your presentation and tells you you're far more engaging than the previous 2 agents she interviewed. And by the way, because she's a professional, she sent out a professional photographer and got a better picture. The key is what's going to set you apart in the marketplace. And I'm going to stop here. We'll answer some questions, but I do want to let you know about the special for this. So normally the Certified Full Service Professional program is $395 a year to maintain your designation. There's continually new modules added, new resources added to the program. But because of our partnership with Realty One, there's $50 off for you on the first year. And if you want to take advantage of that, buffiniandcompany.com/realty1, or click the QR code. But here's the important part: to get the discount, you got to type Realty One in the promo code area. All right, Kathy, that's a lot in a short.
Thank you. I just want to add a couple of comments. I've been a Buffini fan for a long time, and I just want to regurgitate some things I might be making up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might be.
That's okay.
But I'm pretty darn close. That wow experience A couple of things that are national stats. I think Brian is the one that has said over a 36-month period, you should be able, when you deliver a wow experience and you stay in touch with people, you should get a minimum of 3 transactions from that one satisfied client. So everybody do your math. If you've done 5 deals over the past 36 months, that is 15 leads. That's 1 per month. That's a qualified person that has experienced your service that will tell friends, family, coworkers, trusted loved ones, even people they don't like, what a good realtor you are. So when we talk about building that lead resource, we need to do a better job. And a lot of you do a great job, but we can always improve. The other thing is back to that time, and this is one of the biggest things for me, is the tenured time of a person in a home right now, and mainly because of interest rates. We have to do a better game, and we have to have really good systems in process because the tenured time in that home is getting longer and longer. And I think now it's like 5 to 8 years because everybody's waiting for rates to come in. So it's critical. Let's not go try to invent new business. Let's recapture the great job you've done by touching those people and being able to get in front of friends, family, coworkers, trusted individuals.
I think you make a couple of great points. One, when we're working with our clients, our goal is by the time they're 90 days past the close of the transaction. So from when they start working with a client to 90 days past the close, we want to have systems in place that you generate 2 referrals within that time period, so that you're not just duplicating your current business, you're increasing your current business. Now, not every one of those leads closes right away, but what we've seen is on average, half of the leads you get will close. Of the 15% will close or turn into business right now within about a 90-day period. The other 35% is a longer play, and people forget, they let go of that 35% and they're missing out on that business. The other part you talked about is tenure in the home. People want to buy and sell homes right now. They're just fearful. Interest rates are too high. I'm going to wait for them to come down. Political instability. I don't know what's going to happen with my work. But it doesn't mean that their house isn't too big for them or too small. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be closer to family. It doesn't mean that there's a job transfer or a life situation. And so you want to make sure you're talking to the people that you have a relationship with on a regular basis and just give examples. Hey, want to check in? How are you? How's your work? Any big vacation plans you got? They're always going to ask you about real estate because everybody you talk to lives in a home, whether they're renting or they own, they live in a home. They want to know what's going on with the real estate market. So if you just engage in conversation, they're going to ask you about real estate. And then it's your opportunity to say, hey, here's what's going on with the market. But by the way, it's a great time for people who want to downsize right now because there's no competition. Who do you know that the home's a little too big that they might want to downsize? Or who do you know that their family's grown and now they need a bigger home? Great time to buy right now because there's no competition. And so in having those conversations, you'll uncover the right now business.
We're at the top of the hour. I'm going to say a couple of things really quickly. First thing, we had a question in the chat line that said, what would you say to someone to get those referrals? Please start that conversation before you get to the closing table. Please start it initially when you list a home. Say, every time we talk, when I call you each Friday, as Dave said, set that scheduled time, I'm going to ask you, who do you know that I need to be talking with? And prompt them, train them to have an ear out for anybody that says, because the most activity you're going to have is when it goes live, because they're going to go to work and go, hey, I just listed my house, not when the honeymoon's over at the closing, because you may not even like them by then. And the other thing I want to ask real quickly is that, guys, you all know me well enough to know I do not spend your money, but I want to kind of leave with this question. If your average commission is $10,000, and Dave just said that the results of this program are 2 opportunities within 60 days, 30 days, 90 days?
Yeah, to be clear, we're not necessarily seeing the results from that program. When we're working with somebody one-on-one, we want that to help them put systems in place that's what happens.
Okay.
If you start to show up as a professional, if you're having consistent conversations, if you're able to negotiate better, you're going to get more transactions because of that. And the one area you're going to get the transactions right now, people get off the fence because they want to move. And so, but I don't want to misrepresent the stat there. But to your point,
well, I don't either, but I want to make the point. Don't buy the coach bag. Invest in yourself, regardless of what that program is. Reinvest in yourself, because please spend $400 to net $9,600.
There you go.
I have done 2 incredible math problems it's a great day in real estate without breaking out in hives. And Jeff Hoover and Brian and Jessica, if you're on, you know me well enough to know it's an accomplishment. So, Sierra, thank you for being on and keeping us informed in the chat line. Dave, it is a pleasure, and we certainly look forward to a strategic partnership with you going forward to make sure that we're providing our professionals with everything they need today and tomorrow.
Well, thanks, Kathy, for having me. And I'm looking forward to connecting a lot more often with you and the agents that you work with.
Okay, thank you.